Though I didn't lose all of this during a startup. I was gone by 21. But I was asked to give 5 tips for ambitious startups that are trying to change the world. I think above all, your greatest asset is going to be your time. Which is your life, right? So you're going to make sure that the concept's going to work, before you invest your time into it. So let me launch into number 1. I might step on some toes here, but from an entrepreneurial standpoint, don't raise money. Let money raise you. Investment is only a means to an end. When you're 100% sure that you have a big end, and you know that you don't have the means, it makes sense. Number 2, Field of Dreams was close, but they got it wrong. It's not if you can build it, they will come. It's if you can sell it, they will come. And if your product is truly valuable and original, your first customers will fund its development. Number 3, listen to the market. Your ideas about your customers' needs are a fraction of the value that customers can realize from you. Listen to the smart market feedback. Weed out the rest. Number 4, your business starts to prosper. Success is not what you do, but what you don't do. Don't indulge in vanity projects. Be true to your value proposition, your core competency. Make sure that you do it better than anybody else. Happy customers are your best marketing. If you get that part right, you may never need to advertise. Number 5. The second set of questions I was asked to comment on were advice relating to legal, financial, accounting, technology, term-related topics, blah, blah, blah. Most of these are a means to an end, except for HR. If you have something unique that people need and they'll pay for it, everything else works out, except people. Hiring and teaching is a catalyst for scaling. Hire the smartest, most loyal people you know, teach them daily, and they'll only be 80% as good as you and half as loyal. Expect 2 bad hires for every good one. So that's all I have. Any questions?
So, how do you know when to fire someone?
Oh, God. The cancer. Yeah. Yeah, that's a hard one. I think you need to. Have you ever faced that issue yourself?
Yes.
How did you deal with it?
How did I deal with it?
Yeah.
Well, in one case, it was costing a lot of money to have this person around, so that made it very easy. We had a job that had to get done. They weren't doing it. We had time issues, so that was kind of easy. But if you had a crew and you didn't want to make other people unhappy, it made it tricky. But
yeah,
it was couldn't keep up with
Yeah, corporate world and startup world are two different cultures. The corporate world, basically what happens is they just start isolating you, and you start having less and less people work for you. You get more and more isolated. No one's reporting to you. You're off on an island. You getting the hint yet? And finally they leave. It's a different environment. Startup environment's very different. It's very intense. It's very intimate, and it's very upfront because you're shoulder to shoulder. You're working long hours with people, and it's very obvious if they don't want to be there, So I think it's still tough, but it's probably more upfront because of the intimacy of your group because it's so small. So I mean, every person's different, right? I mean, every situation. There's no one answer I can give you, but I would say it's probably easier to be more bold when you're in a more intimate startup environment.
If I could add a comment, there was
Sure.
an interesting back and forth about this very topic, I think in the last 6 to 8 weeks, because certainly from the tech community, certainly in Northern California, Silicon Valley, San Francisco, talent is so tight, and there was this ongoing debate online about, can we afford to fire, was the basic question. I think, to answer your question, I think we almost always know when we want to let somebody go. We're afraid to do it for a variety of reasons, where we make excuses, whether personal or business. And kind of what ended the debate, kind of the mic drop, was I think the founder of Spotify, they put out it was a press release or something, that basically said, as part of our culture, we fire. And we fire it because we are concerned about protecting our culture, and we think we owe it to our customers and our other employees that if somebody's not adhering to our culture, we have an obligation. It was interesting, everybody's worried about finding people, and they're saying the best way to keep your people is to let the bad ones go.
Yeah.
So it's kind of a different perspective of what I emphasize. I thought that was a nice thing.
There you go.
Actually, I had a question for you, but you kind of stole my thunder. I was going to ask you, what's more important, cultural fit or skill set fit for a startup?
For a startup. Well, you know, finding a partner, it's like a marriage. You know, I got match made because I was actually competing against well, actually what happened was I was working for a company and I was the top salesperson there, and I was competing for media dollars, and there was this other guy, this other company that was, I always kept seeing him, you know, like his on the RFP, and you know, we kept kind of running into each other professionally, and we were very good at what we were doing. Well, as it turns out, we actually got match made through an ad agency because he was looking around to start up something, and he contacted me through this guy, and he flew me out to New York, and we met. As it turns out, it all comes down to values, and I think we shared the same values. We, you know, our fathers, you know, kind of old world. We had a really good work ethic. We really, you know, growing up, we worked hard. And, you know, and we knew what it took, you know, to get a job done right. And so we kind of shared those same kind of values, you know. And I think people will tell you, you know, when you get married, you know, if you argue about money, that marriage is not going to last long. You know, you have to have that same sort of core value system that keeps you together. And I think that those were the things. We liked the same sort of music. We had a lot of things in common. But the most thing, the value that we really shared was that we weren't afraid of hard work. And we thrived in that. We really had a passion for what we did, and we weren't afraid of that. And so, yeah, I think that's, did I answer your question?
No.
No.
But I think I know where you were going. And our managing partner at our firm has a no asshole policy, regardless how great of a lawyer you are.
Oh.
If you're an asshole, you're not getting hired.
Yeah, well, you're talking about skill set versus, the culture fit. Yeah. If you've got a really good programmer but he can't communicate, you know, it's not any good to the team.
Or upsets the cohesive culture of your company.
Right. Yeah, well, you know, that person needs to communicate with the other team, and it just becomes a cancer.
Yes.
It's just, you know, I think, yeah, and I think you just need to find those people.
Going back to Scott's previous comment about founders vesting and your comment about firing. In my first startup, we fired one of the founders after the first quarter, and they were immediately vested when they founded the company. We didn't see the guy again for 4 years, and he came in and accepted his check for $1.2 million and walked out. So, you know, make sure they're vested.
Did he say thank you?
I wasn't present.
I'm sure you weren't.
But anyway, that was a key thing, is that sometimes the founders get fired.
Yeah. There's, I've seen that happen before. Any other questions?
You were talking about not raising money or raising money. Could you explain a little more on that?
Okay, well, it's advice, okay? And I'm gonna, you know, I don't, yeah, it's advice, and it's coming from a pure entrepreneurial standpoint, right? You know, let money raise you, right? And everyone's different, and you know, but if you can hold out as long as you can, make proof of concept work, you know, get a core audience going. Those are the things that drive the business. I think that in our case at Travel Ad Network, you know, we didn't have to take that first $15, $19 million that we got from Row Capital, you know, but we thought that they were going to give us connections, and we thought that they were going to give us inroads into other areas, and it could lead to acquisitions and different things. But as it turns out, the run rate, and then 2008 hit us, okay? And then 2008 was hard, really hard on us. And and it turns out that we had to take another 15 million, and then they owned the company by then. And so it turned around from us being, in control to them being in control, and then with the financial crisis. So there's a lot of things out of your control, but you do what you can, It's not an exact science.
So we run out of time. Let's
Okay.
hold it for the next one. Sorry. Thank you, Bob.